to the Empowered Parent Podcast, where we dive deep into the real challenges and solutions facing parents raising children with learning disabilities. I'm your host, Jess Arce, and today we're shedding light on what so many people have asked about. What is a learning disability? So a learning disability is a neurological difference that affects a person receiving, processing, or expressing information. When we talk about dyslexia, that's a difficulty with words. When we're talking about dysgraphia, that's a difficulty with writing. When we're talking about dyscalculia, that's a difficulty with math. And a learning disability is one or more academic areas where an individual is not reaching their potential. It is not an intellectual disability. It is not an intellectual challenge. An intellectual disability is just that. Those are cognitive delays for the individual globally, right? Not just academically, but also cognitively. And so they are typically below average intellectual functioning and don't have the adaptive skills. So truly, a learning disability is dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia. However, the way it has been addressed by the Board of Education and United States since 1978, when they started the Student Disabilities Act, is they would call dyslexia a other impairment. So that made people feel like an intellectual disability is a learning disability. So just there, we've got the misconceptions coming all the way from the top, down to teachers and principals and parents, all having a misunderstanding of what a disability is. Now, I personally don't use the word disability often because I don't like to feel that I am disabled. I am not disabled. I am very able to do certain things. And I'm now completely capable to read, which when I was a child, I was not. However, I needed to hone in on my abilities to become a good reader. And now I am an avid reader. I still don't feel like I'm a great reader out loud, but that's because I don't get as much practice doing that.
We'd like to take a moment to thank our amazing sponsors who make this podcast possible. First up, we have 3D Learning Experts. If you or someone you love struggles with dyslexia, dyscalculia, or similar learning differences, 3D Learning Experts is here to help. They specialize in virtual tutoring for students of all ages. From first grade to adulthood, their expert tutors use the proven Orton-Gillingham method for language arts, structured and sequential program for writing success, and a multi-sensory approach to math. This ensures students enhance their reading, writing, spelling, and math skills in a way that suits their needs. Empowering students with confidence and success. That's what 3D Learning Experts is all about. To learn more, visit 3dlearningexperts.com. And when it's time to unwind, why not escape to fabulous Las Vegas with Casa Arce Vacations? Whether you're planning a quick getaway or a family reunion, Casa Arce Vacations offers 4 unique stays at one convenient location. Just under 3 miles from the Strip, choose from a cozy tiny house, 2 stylish studios, or a spacious 4-bedroom, 2-bath unit. All guests have access to amazing amenities, including a play pool, putting green, barbecue, fire pit, and each unit has its own private patio. Perfect for any occasion, they've got the ideal spot for your next adventure. Start planning your trip today at facebook.com/Casa RSA Vacations. Thank you to our sponsors for their support and for the incredible services they provide. Now, let's get back to today's episode.
So going back to what I prefer to refer to it as is a learning difference, because people with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia learn differently. We need to be taught differently in order to grasp the information that a neurotypical individual will automatically pick up quickly. The teacher teaches the lesson, and a neurotypical person just absorbs it. Maybe they need to hear it once or twice more. But a dyslexic person or a dyscalculic or a dysgraphic person needs to be taught the information differently through your multi-senses. So what does that mean? That means they need to be doing multiple things: hearing the information, communicating the information back, writing it down, And how the person learns best might depend on their learning style. I'm a kinesthetic person, so I take notes. I was literally just in a meeting and I took notes in this meeting so that I could remember the information that was given to me and then pass it on. Now, sometimes when I take notes, I never need to look at my notes again. Once I've written it down, it sticks in my brain. However, if I don't write, I will not remember. That is because I am a kinesthetic learner. Two of my children are auditory learners. So writing something down would not help them at all. And they do much better by hearing the information. And repeating it back would make it stick better than just to hear it and then, never do anything with it. Anybody will learn better by using more than one sense to learn new information. But people with a learning disability, like dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, learn much better when they're using multiple senses. And so that is one of the huge components to Orton Gillingham-based multisensory instruction is we teach our students using multiple senses. So when my instructors teach the student, they're telling them and they're moving tiles on the screen with their student. And then the student will practice what they learned, moving the tiles and repeating back to their instructor what they have worked on or what they've learned or what they just built, right? So if they're working on a short A word like cat, the tutor might show them the word cat, and then they need to change it to another short word like bat. And so they would move the tile, they would change the C to a B. And so that is how they are able to absorb the information. And then they practice it. Repetition is so important for someone with dyslexia. Anyway, I got a little bit off track. That's something I do because of my ADHD. But getting back on track. So a learning disability, nothing to be ashamed of. And if you don't like the word, like I don't love the word, call it a learning difference, a learning challenge, call it whatever you like. But the true difference or definition of a learning disability is the child or the adult is not reaching the potential that you would expect of them due to their high intelligence or average intelligence, but their lack of ability to do a certain thing. And that is the area that they have the disability in. And very often, I remember when my kids were young and in school, I remember people saying, well, I don't want my child going into special ed because I don't want them to be labeled as a special ed student. And so that's something to address, because being in the special ed department or program, getting an IEP or an ARD, an ARD in Texas can really benefit your child. And it would be a shame to not want them to get special ed services or be labeled as special ed because you're afraid that they're going to have that label for the rest of their lives. First of all, they don't have to have that label for the rest of their lives. If you ever want to pull your child out of SPED services, you as a parent have the power to do that. And special ed services can be beneficial for your child. Now, unfortunately, many of the schools don't provide the right kind of services to students, especially students with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. So special ed services may not be beneficial to your child. And you can tell the school, I don't want my child receiving special ed services. However, I want them to receive accommodations because the accommodations are helpful and the special ed services are not, and they just frustrate my child. So, you can give it a try. You can see if what the school offers is beneficial. And if what the school offers is not beneficial, then you just end those services. That's where my company comes in. If you are not getting what you need from your school, we can help. We can help anywhere in the United States because we are virtual. We do not help students outside of the United States because our English is different. Our English is different than our Canadian cousins or friends or neighbors. Our numbers, our number system that we use is different than Canadians. So we can't properly work with individuals who are not learning American English or American math. We actually have a student in Japan who is learning American English. So we are able to help him because he was diagnosed as dyslexic, but they don't provide any services, according to the mother, in Japan. So she sought us out to help her child. So those are things to keep in mind. And don't be afraid to speak up for your child, because we as parents are the best advocate for our children until we are able to prepare our children to become advocates for themselves. If you found this information to be helpful, please like or subscribe to our channel. The more likes and subscriptions we get, the more other people will hear about what we've got to share. And if you want more information about our tutoring services, you can schedule a free consultation call with me. It's a phone call. And you can schedule that on 3dlearningexperts.com/consult. And I would love to talk to you about what is going on with your child. And if it sounds like dyslexia, dysgraphia, or dyscalculia, we would love to be able to help them. They don't need an official diagnosis in order to get help. So keep those things in mind. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.